Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 185 based on novel. So let's start. How can this be possible? Luo Feng was astonished. In his view, even if the lava prisoner's strength increased several times, it was unlikely to escape from the pill furnace. But at this moment, the resisting force within the pill furnace shocked Luo Feng. He exerted all his power to suppress it, yet the resisting force escalated dramatically in just a few breaths. Bang! The lid of the furnace was directly pushed open, and a terrifying, dazzling figure burst out from it. The lava prisoner's body had shrunk slightly, covered by a layer of golden flame that even made Luo Feng feel a threat of death. Something's not right. Luo Feng looked up at the figure. "You contemptible cultivator, let me show you the true power of high-level primordial life." The lava prisoner smiled evilly and instantly transformed into a golden shadow, striking towards Luo Feng. Luo Feng faced him sternly. With a stretch of his right hand, a grayish-green long spear appeared, and the spear instantly pierced forward, containing the mysteries of life and death. Extinguish! The lava prisoner punched directly, his fist bearing the force to destroy heaven and earth, smashing onto the spear. The power transmitted through the spear to Luo Feng's entire body, causing Luo Feng's body to tremble. His right hand holding the spear silently disintegrated into powder, and his arm broke in multiple places with a crackling sound. "Even through the secret treasure, my arm can be broken? Is this the true power of high-level primordial life?" Luo Feng instantly speculated, as he had studied various high-level primordial bloodlines deeply. The power high-level primordial life should possess, Luo Feng had contemplated it in his heart. The previous lava prisoner had his strength completely sealed. His movements were slow, only able to use some clumsy force at best. But now, he's using a trace of the true power of high-level primordial life. Luo Feng could also confirm that the opponent was merely using a trace. If too much, he would be done in an instant. There is a qualitative difference in how the forces of both sides manifest. In its presence, there is no distance, no strength or weakness. Everything below high-level primordial will be obliterated. With a thought, Luo Feng's body merged into the endless blood sea, and the blood sea formation fully activated. Boom! The golden fire burned on the surface of the lava prisoner, akin to a sun, directly plunging into the endless blood sea. The sea water of the blood sea was quickly eroded and obliterated. Even with the undying heart enhancement, even forming a vast formation, it could still be visibly obliterated. Encountering the lava prisoner, Luo Feng seemed like an icy continent encountering a sun. Luo Feng's icy continent was immensely vast. But the lava prisoner's sun was very small, like a micro-sun. Yet the micro-sun's power is inexhaustible, endlessly burning this icy continent. It's simply not possible to fight. In direct confrontation, even with the secret treasure, I might lose an arm. 10 moves, 8 moves, the body would be torn apart. Using the endless blood sea formation for defense, it will continuously be burned. At this moment, Luo Feng couldn't think of a way to defeat the opponent. Is escape the only option? With a thought, he could differentiate the blood sea into countless avatars, breaking through the rifts of heaven and earth to flee. Why flee? I've cultivated to this level, needing a strong enough opponent. Even if this body is completely obliterated, the avatar in the large primordial hall can recover quickly 1.2 billion times. It's a battle of victory or death. Luo Feng's fighting spirit surged. If the avatar dies, losing over 10 life and death secret treasures? Luo Feng doesn't care. He seeks to truly grasp the half-primordial life and death path. If the Tao is achieved, such secret treasures are insignificant. Bring it on. The endless blood sea surged with monstrous waves, willing to sacrifice the sea water's obliteration, still launching terrifying attacks towards the lava prisoner. Ha ha ha. The lava prisoner was now able to hover in mid-air, letting the sea water transform into a dragon to strike, or chains to imprison, yet it didn't care at all. All sea water would be burned and obliterated by the golden fire. Sizzle, sizzle tilde 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 tilde. On the endless sea surface, a thin layer of golden flame covered some areas, the golden flame burning on the sea surface, continuously obliterating a large amount of blood sea water. In the process of obliteration, not only did the golden flame not deplete, but the obliterated blood sea power was naturally absorbed by the golden flame. It's only due to the sealing suppression that the lava prisoner could only use a trace of fundamental power. HMPH, high-level primordial, to you cultivators in the braided cage, it is an essential disparity. Although it's just a trace of power, your body is quite large. But it will just take more time. The lava prisoner hovered in mid-air. The golden flame eroded and penetrated, also contaminating the endless blood sea. My undying blood sea body has been obliterated by 0.3%, contaminated by 2.1%. Luo Feng was well aware of his current state. Facing the contamination of high-level primordial power, he couldn't resist. After contamination, not only could he not mobilize the blood sea's power, but it also impacts the body's performance. Did we overdo it? In the high sky, the silver-haired man, Chiu Ge, frowned slightly. The primordial prisoner can mobilize a trace of fundamental high-level primordial power. Even Luo Feng cannot resist it. The woman in the fiery red robe, Euphaya, also frowned watching the battle. The confrontation was one-sided. Although Luo Feng's body was large, he couldn't threaten the opponent in the slightest. Without this trace of high-level primordial power, the primordial prisoner wouldn't be Luo Feng's opponent at all, Euphaya said. Luo Feng has reached a terrifying level within the braided cage. Only utilizing high-level primordial power can pose a threat to him. Our choice was correct. Ultimately, it's only power contamination. Chiu Ge also nodded. Even if Luo Feng fails, we can easily help him expel the power contamination. They had no way to deal with soul contamination. That's why they sealed the lava prisoner's soul, life core, an all-powerful means, at this moment, cautiously releasing only a trace of fundamental high-level primordial power. Just this trace, Luo Feng was unable to withstand. The primordial prisoner can fly now. It has become stronger. The over 1,000 watching cultivators were somewhat astonished. For countless ages, they dared to besiege because the primordial prisoner was relatively slow and couldn't fly. But now it can fly, and its flying speed is extremely fast. It can threaten many cultivators. Luo Feng Divine Emperor is doing his utmost to deal with it. Hopefully, Luo Feng Divine Emperor can successfully slay that prisoner. These cultivators hoped as they also sent the news back. At this moment, some cultivators were already on their way. After all, the battle between Luo Feng and the primordial prisoner still attracted many cultivators. Even the Dragon 9 Daoist Monarch and Divine Emperor Jiku were hurrying over. But it would take time for them to travel. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The endless blood sea returned to tranquility, stopping its offense. Ha ha ha, stopped? Given up? The lava prisoner stood in midair overlooking the endless blood sea, with strands of golden flames burning on the sea's surface. In the depths of the blood sea, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, ignoring the primordial prisoner. My body has disintegrated by 3.1%, not a high ratio. But the polluted part of the body has reached 59%. Luo Feng felt that the endless blood sea was starting to become uncontrollable, beginning to resist. With 59% of the body polluted, the resistance was wanton, greatly decreasing the efficiency of controlling the remaining body strength. The power drastically reduced, Luo Feng ceased his attack on the lava prisoner. It's useless to attack. The pollution is rapidly escalating. If this continues, this avatar is done for. This was a colossal avatar carrying numerous life and death secret treasures, with a massive 12 billion energy reserve. The disintegrated part wasn't much at the moment, but the pollution ratio was too high and increasing swiftly. Even a trace of high-level primordial power. The power in this braided cage, even with a full 12 billion perfect divine body energy reserve, was short-term polluted to such an extent. Legend says, newly breaking through high-level primordial life, with no restriction on strength, causes far more severe pollution, even able to pollute the soul consciousness. Luo Feng thought, but as long as the spiritual will jumps out of the braided cage, it can suppress pollution, even expel all pollution. Yuan Xiong Palace Master had encountered a newly breakthrough high-level primordial life, and even their soul consciousness was polluted. This is merely some high-level primordial power pollution. It should be easier to expel. Suppress it. Expel it. Luo Feng paid no attention to the lava prisoner, focusing all his spiritual power on targeting the pollution. The pollution was ongoing, and the golden flames were burning away sections of life power. Suppress. Expel. Under the dual threat of pollution and disintegration, at the moment Luo Feng concentrated all his spiritual power to resist, he vaguely sensed a tiny change within the entire mind-consciousness system. Life has inherent instincts. Every life unit in Luo Feng's massive body possessed extraordinary life spirituality, and life instinct was even stronger. At this moment, countless life units, under the threat of pollution and disintegration, allowed life instinct to override other instincts, making them unite more perfectly, and a slight change occurred in the operation of the mind-consciousness system. This slight change was instantly perceived by Luo Feng. I found it. Under enormous threat, the slight change in the mind-consciousness system allowed Luo Feng to glimpse a more profound operational method. What Luo Feng had been seeking was just a trace of spiritual touch. A touch that could make the operation of the mind system more perfect. This kind of touch, once experienced. With Luo Feng's level, he could firmly remember the mysterious and complex operational way of the entire mind-consciousness system under this state. Boom! At this moment, Luo Feng actively propelled the mind-consciousness system according to this operational method. Once propelled, Luo Feng could feel that every unit of life's spiritual power in the endless blood sea was more efficiently unified, and the huge consciousness net rapidly expanded, intertwined step by step, with each consciousness thread immensely strong, eventually forming a complete mind consciousness expanded to unprecedented heights. Boom! Luo Feng's spiritual will suddenly broke through that layer of braided cage. Jumping out of the braided cage, achieving grand freedom. The spiritual will only felt relieved and exhilarating. The spiritual will that leaped out of the braided cage naturally covered the entire body, perfectly controlling the whole body. The pollution brought by that trace of golden fire power was relatively low, and in the face of the will that jumped out of the braided cage, all pollution was expelled, not a trace could remain. Ha ha ha. Luo Feng's heart was filled with endless joy. At this moment, the mind-consciousness system perfectly governed the vast blood sea body. The spiritual will leaping out of the braided cage controlled the whole body with ease, feeling that only 1 or 2 points of spiritual power were needed. In handling such a physical body to display exquisite techniques, it was estimated that 10 or 8 secret treasures could still be fully deployed. My life and death Tao, under the braided cage, finally reached perfection. Luo Feng smiled, feeling indescribably elated. Luo Feng's half-primordial life and death path pursues an extremely large body, making the mind-consciousness system an essential part of the half-primordial life and death path. From the many primordial bloodlines, it can be seen that even naturally born, low-level primordial lives do not have a complete mind-consciousness system. Among high-level primordial lives, only those of extremely large forms will have this system. This system is vast and complex, more difficult to comprehend than a single high-level primordial bloodline. With Luo Feng's comprehension ability, it took him over 5,000 eras to create a mind-consciousness system that suited himself, even with the aid of supportive treasures. It should be noted that Luo Feng has been cultivating in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm for only over 2,000 eras. My mind-consciousness system, having reached this stage, has allowed my spiritual will to break free from the braided cage. However, the mind-consciousness system still has a broader space. If I wish to control a more massive, world-level primordial flesh body, or lord-level body, the demands on the mind-consciousness system will only become higher. Luo Feng understood this point. Under the braided cage, this mind-consciousness system could be called perfect. But outside the braided cage, this mind-consciousness system is still quite immature. Boom! In a single thought, he perfectly controlled every bit of power in the massive flesh body. The vitality became even more terrifying. 3.2% of extinguished power was rapidly recovering, and this bit of minor injury was completely restored in the blink of an eye, recovering to a 12 billion-fold energy reserve. This state is his flesh-body's state of perfection. My control over my body has reached an incredible level. Luo Feng felt, as long as the body's consumption doesn't exceed 30%, it can recover within a few breaths. Luo Feng himself was somewhat amazed. The life-focused life and death Tao body, combined with the mind-consciousness system, possesses such terrifying vitality. My path is the right one. To kill the enemy, one must ensure one's own survival first. The enemy can't harm me. I can unleash the power of my enormous body, wanton destruction of the enemy. Even after having witnessed the supreme destruction mystery contained in a sky-splitting saber, Luo Feng remained unmoved. No matter how powerful destruction is, it is still to ensure the safety of life. Life certainly comes before destruction. The primordial prisoner hovered in the air, faint golden flames burning on the surface of the blood sea, but the primordial prisoner's face slightly changed, looking somewhat puzzled downward. How is this possible? The primordial prisoner could sense its power being cleansed instantly. That was the same power stepping out of the braided cage, the power of spiritual will. Rumble tilde tilde tilde. The originally vast endless blood sea, instantly united, transformed into a man in black clothes and black hair. Previously, Luo Feng used the blood sea formation to confront the enemy because, with 12 billion-fold energy reserves, he could not fully exert most of it. Only with the aid of the formation could its power be better exerted. But now, he could perfectly control every life unit, all power driven by his will. There was no need for the formation anymore. His mind-consciousness system is the most perfect formation, perfectly controlling every bit of power. Primordial prisoner, I should thank you for allowing me to take this step forward. Luo Feng looked at him. Taken this step? The primordial prisoner looked at Luo Feng, sneering, no matter how you break through, you still haven't jumped out of the braided cage. In front of me, you still have no resistance. Is that so? Luo Feng stretched out his hand, and in his hand appeared that pill furnace. Luo Feng held one of the pill furnace's feet. This pill furnace could refine the enemy, and could also be used to smash the enemy. This was inherent in the mysteries contained within the pill furnace. Luo Feng felt the pill furnace was indeed the most suitable weapon for his physical body at the moment. Ridiculous. The primordial prisoner disdained, even grasping a little high-level primordial power was a qualitative difference. The primordial prisoner instantly transformed into golden flames, rushing straight at Luo Feng. Destroy. Luo Feng held the pill furnace, suddenly smashing towards the primordial prisoner. The 12 billion-fold energy reserve body. At this moment, all power was perfectly united. The pill furnace's secret pattern mysteries operated. As Luo Feng swung the pill furnace, the heavens and earth and time and space were all torn and distorted. As though creating heaven and earth. The pill furnace was enormously huge, smashed towards the primordial prisoner. Boom! The primordial prisoner disdainfully did not dodge, hewing with anger using 8 arms. Under this terrifying impact, the primordial prisoner's expression changed, feeling the power of this furnace smash actually suppressed him. The pill furnace crushed the 8 arms, smashing onto its head. It must be known, last time when it collided hard with Luo Feng's palm was annihilated, arm severed. Its advantage was significant. But now, the situation was completely reversed. Luo Feng instead held a huge advantage. With this smash, the primordial prisoner fell heavily to the ground. The earth suddenly shook, rippling like water across an endless vast range, scaring the over 1,000 cultivators watching from afar to quickly retreat further. His strength has greatly increased, the power feels several tens of times stronger. The primordial prisoner fell into the deep pit in the ground, still somewhat unbelievable. Life within the braided cage, how can it be this strong? Compared to before, Luo Feng's controlled energy reserve increased about tenfold. At the same time, after the life and death Tao was completely perfected, with the spiritual will stepping out of the braided cage, the power unleashed by the pill furnace secret pattern also soared again. Overall strength, purely in terms of power, indeed increased several tens of times. The primordial prisoner, capable of wielding high-level primordial power, but only a sliver of mastery. Under Luo Feng's current state, however, he completely suppressed the primordial prisoner. Bang! Luo Feng stepped through the rift in the heavens and earth to the primordial prisoner's front, once again raised the pill furnace and smashed it down. Boom! 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 This video will end here.